Hello, welcome to YouTube Developers Live. We have a pretty exciting show today, but before we get started, I want to introduce myself. I'm Jeremy Walker. I'm a developer advocate for the YouTube APIs. And then we have Jeff Posnick from New York. He's my counterpart out in New York. I think he's on mute, but...
hello to everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. And thanks for having... thanks for being on the show to the folks that you're about to introduce from WeVideo. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so we're really excited to have some of our partners here from WeVideo. We have Krishna Menon, who's the CTO, and then we have Mark Flosin.
That's right.
I always worry I pronounce that wrong. Who's from business development. So we're really excited. We've been partnering with you guys for quite a while. Yep. We worked with you guys at I.O. and we've done some other recordings, but we haven't had you on the show yet, so we're really excited to finally get you here.
We appreciate being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, let's jump into it. We kind of want to cover a couple general questions first, and then we have a demo for everyone out there, so that'll be pretty exciting. And then we'll get into the technical details. So why don't you tell me a little bit about the history of WeVideo?
Sure. So WeVideo was founded last year, and we're based up in Palo Alto. We're practically neighbors. The company actually is based on a platform of technology that was originally conceived in Scandinavia about 5 years ago. And that technology platform was originally very much aimed at schools. So we had about 400,000 school kids sort of hammering away at this cloud-based video and collaboration environment. And WeVideo was conceived to take that fundamental concept and that code and really, frankly, democratize video to enable us to reach many, many more people globally. The company was founded over here in Silicon Valley. We received a round of funding earlier this year and have been growing since. So we're really focused on trying to just make video editing much easier to do and available for everyone.
Great. So kind of democratizing video editing.
Yeah, you think of obviously the huge reach that YouTube has with regard to video viewing. Everyone that's online has now seen video online, and as a media category, it's obviously grown like crazy. What's lagged behind that is people's ability to actually edit their own video. And so what we see is this huge demand for people who've captured a lot of video, who are used to sharing and seeing video, but are perhaps frustrated by how difficult it's been in the past to edit that video and make it really compelling. And so we think that there's a great opportunity to make editing a key part of the value chain, if you like, and make it easy for people to edit their work, then share it, which makes it much more compelling, much more interesting for people to view, and overall drives better content.
Yeah, and to be clear for everyone out there, it's not like you need plugins or anything like that. You can just go to your site and start using it as if you're using an installed video editing suite.
That's absolutely true, Jeremy. As a cloud-based video platform, one of the advantages we bring is that people don't need bespoke downloadable software. And a key part of, I think, frankly, our success together and working with yourselves has been we were able to effectively embed that capability into YouTube itself, or into one of the properties that enables people to actually work on editing our files from within the YouTube Create program. So what that's done is I think it's made it very accessible, the editing component of it, and really help people to improve the quality of their content without needing downloadable tools, complex software editing, and so on. And some of the things that we'll show everybody today are how we've evolved from that. Because I think when we started, we had a relatively sophisticated platform, and what we found, certainly talking to our customers, was it's still hard. So someone who's never done any video editing, it's still hard. And so we've made it easier. We've continued to kind of strip away at the editing process, to narrow down to the core essence of what people need to do to produce great content and to be able to tell their stories easily. And that's what's embedded in our implementation with YouTube.
Well, I'm always excited to, it's really neat to hear about it, but I always like to see it in action. And I know you guys have a new list of features that you launched recently that I'm hoping you'll talk about. So why don't we, Christian, if you want to jump into the demo, and then you can talk about the new features, and then we can kind of talk about the technical stuff.
All right, I'll walk you through the demo, but I just wanted to kind of emphasize something that Mark said, which is what we learned was that a number of users who came to our site had actually no video experience. So they had to do a video project, they had content, but they didn't understand what video editing was about. In response to that is what we came up with, and what I'm going to show you today is our most recent offering. We just launched it a few weeks ago. It's our Storyboard version. So it's intended for novice users. It's intended to still create great quality videos. So even though the user experience is simplified, we still want to give them the ability to create great videos. And a term I'm going to talk a little bit about today is what we call adaptive user experience. So while you can start off with this, we also have versions for you that as you graduate and as you become better at it and you want more control over your final output, we have more advanced versions for you to start using. And the data between all the versions is interchangeable, and I'll show you that as I do the demo today.
Great, so it's kind of like an easy version to start, and as you get better, you kind of throw more stuff in there for them to use to
That's exactly right.
refine it.
And then, but all the data is interchangeable, so you can take the data from one version to another without any loss of fidelity.
Great, great.
All right, so what you're seeing on my screen right now is our Storyboard version. So this is the latest editor. On the left-hand side is all my content. So assume I just came back from a skiing trip and I've got some content. And at the bottom of the screen is the Storyboard. So that's where actually I'm going to put together my storyboard from this vacation I just took. Now the way we bring content into the system is either I can upload from my hard disk, or you can also bring it from all these different sources. So obviously Google Drive is a big partner of ours, Instagram, Facebook. So you don't have to download it from those sites, bring it to your desktop and upload it. We can directly connect to those sites to bring your content with it. So I'm going to put together a simple storyboard, go through it. So I'll go through and pick a few clips. So I've got, I'll drag this one in here, and I'll pick a couple more. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some editing to make it better, and I'll pick another one here. So what this also allows me to do is I can easily drag and drop, move things around. So as I reorder things in my storyboard, I can move it around. I'll just pick one more clip here, so to finish it. So now I've got a little storyboard that I put together in a few seconds. Nothing sophisticated. I've got a little title slide, and I've got a few clips, and I can play it. It's still not edited. I haven't done anything with effects. I don't even know what effects are. So now some of the concepts that are available to everybody. So if I wanted to just give it a title, I'll call it, Skiing 2012. And then also on the different clips, I can add titles. So I can put a caption that says, getting there. And also I could tag a friend. So tagging a friend, again, the idea here is that if you tagged a friend and you publish it, then we notify your friends that you were tagged in this video. So there's a social element to this, to the editing also. And I'll just go ahead and add a few more captions here. Oops. Again, the concepts I'm showing you here are concepts most users are used to. And I'll add one more here. So now if I just play these, you can start seeing, let me just go to the beginning and show you what it looks like. So I've got the titles. And now what we get to is the interesting part of it. So now I put together a few clips, and I've got some titles and captions. And we have a concept called styles with themes. So the idea here is that we want to give you great quality video without you understanding what it takes to do that. So if you don't understand effects, if you don't understand audio, if you don't understand transitions, we've done that for you. So I'll pick a theme here. I'll pick the vintage theme. I'll use it, and let me just play that. At this point, what it's doing is it's downloading the resources for that themes. Now for us, everything is real-time preview. So you want to be able to make changes and see it right away.
Oh, cool.
Okay. So it's doing the transitions, it's done some color correction, it's added audio to it, and basically given. Now if I said, you know what, I don't mind that, let me try a different one here, and I'll just go ahead and try my 1960s theme. And again,
your age, Krishna.
Yes, I know. And I'm dating myself here, but So again, instantaneous. Important thing in creating is you want quick iterations. You don't want to have to wait and render. So I can see something right away, and then I'm doing it. And I can go ahead and we have 20 plus themes right now that you can go and try out with it. And then the final step is once I'm done with that, I can go ahead and publish it. And this is where the YouTube integration comes in. So I can set the resolution. I can mark it as private. And I'll just go ahead and publish it now. So what this is going to do is where we do the integration with the YouTube APIs. And the first part of this is that we'll take your storyboard, and it's all server-side processing. So we've got a rendering farm on the server and a cloud-based infrastructure that's going to take that content, take the high-resolution versions of it, render all the effects, and create a single output file out of it, high quality, and then we take that file and publish it to the YouTube channel for that person with it. So that's kind of the process. So what you've seen here is basically in a few minutes I put together a good quality video.
Wow, that's neat. And then so this is for the beginners, and then as they start. Well, actually,
let me just show you how so I've done this now, and I want to say, okay, you know what? I actually want to go ahead. I want to do a little bit more editing. I'm actually not a novice, so I can now switch over to the timeline mode. Okay. So this is the next level of the editing. Notice now the look is different. It's not as the storyboard version. It's showing me a lot more elements in the timeline, including what effects are applied and the audios and all that. So if I wanted to now go ahead and add a voiceover or change the effect, if I said, you know what, I actually like this theme, but I want to use a different effect, I can do that here easily without losing all my previous work. So again, the idea of adaptive user experiences, that's our philosophy in developing applications.
Wow, that's really neat. So, okay, so even if you are experienced but you have a limited amount of time, you can just pick a theme, throw together your clips, and then you're just export to YouTube.
That's exactly right. And for us, it's not only having versions for different levels of users. Our vision is to have this running on all devices. So it's basically web platforms, tablets, smartphones, and those are coming in the future. Okay,
so you guys have something planned for mobile then?
Yeah.
Great, that's good to hear.
Especially for Android.
That's what we like to hear. Well, why don't we dive into the technical side? So, do you want to talk a little bit about how that integration went about, at least with the YouTube APIs, and then maybe what language you used?
Right. So we use version 2 of the APIs. Version 3 came out recently, and we're going to look into that starting in January. As I mentioned, for us, the integration was about, once we do the rendering in the cloud, we take that file and we use the YouTube upload APIs. So it's basically the data APIs we're using. We're not embedding the video YouTube player. We're using the data API to push the file up. Our backend is all written in Java, so we use the Java client libraries for the data API to integrate the upload. Besides the upload, we also do check the status. We add developer tags so we can search for WeVideo. We want to get the URL back and email it to the user. And we're also looking to tie into analytics. So we want to give the user information on how many views did their creation get, and then eventually tie to things like gamification. Hey, create a video that gets 10,000 views or something like that. So that's the level of integration we've done. The integration itself is very straightforward, no issues at all, and I'm looking forward to what the version 3.0 has to provide.
Go ahead.
You mentioned analytics. Have you had a chance to look at our new standalone YouTube Analytics API also?
We've started looking into it, but the idea there is that we want to be able to. The information we want is, what is the views? How many views did a piece of content get, and things like that. But we started looking into it. We'll have an integration on that coming up soon.
Yeah, that'll definitely make your lives easier. How you did it before with the old APIs, you actually had to download a zip file and go through CSVs. Now you'll get all the information directly, just That's information you need.
So, for us, our users, since we're a creation platform, YouTube is the most popular destination site for most of our users. So.
Oh, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. We definitely, when you talk about the API, we kind of put you guys in the creation category because you create new content that we add to YouTube. Yeah. Was there anything, I guess, when you were working with the APIs that you saw that was kind of counterintuitive, or?
No, it was relatively straightforward to use. For what we're trying to do, it was not a problem at all adopting it. So it was very straightforward. And
I know we talked a little bit about this, but is there anything features like you you were hoping to see in the future, or I know you guys mainly do upload, so kind of your use case is taken care of, but I always just like to ask that question in case you can think of something.
Not currently. I mean, it's mostly, as you mentioned, it's all about upload and publishing, and for that we're pretty good. Once we get the analytics, that'd be the last missing piece. I think at some point, if we started doing where we're taking input from YouTube, then there might be some other requests coming up. So.
Okay. Well, great.
That's actually a good point, because I think one of the things we've heard from customers that have published and then have got volume and good SEO, inbound traffic coming to a particular site or particular file, is what do they do if they want to make changes to it once it's live? And so I think as we go deeper, looking at how we can kind of tackle that problem for people rather than them editing, republishing, kind of wiping out their traffic and starting again, that's probably an interesting area to explore over time.
And one more thing I wanted to show you on my screen here is that I wanted to show you what the finished output looked like. I mean, you saw the preview on the screen, so this is going to be what the finished output looks like. And so this is something that was created on WeVideo. Let me just go to the beginning of the file. So this was created using a storyboard version.
I like this theme.
Mm-hmm. It's a 1960s theme.
Yeah.
So hopefully that gave you an insight into what WeVideo does. So.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, thanks for coming on. For everyone out there, we have an open question forum. So go to that link. It's right below in the description if you want to ask a question on Google Moderator, and we can answer that. In the meantime, Jeff, we always do Stack Overflow question of the week, so I'll hand it over to Jeff to kind of go over that.
Thanks so much, Jeremy. So a couple of interesting questions to choose from this week, and I wanted to focus on one of them asked by a Stack Overflow user named Chris, and this focuses on the aforementioned YouTube Analytics API. So Chris, to kind of distill his question into a kind of soundbite, was kind of curious about how quota worked in the Analytics API. Specifically, wanted like some real details about how many types of various calls you can make before running into quota limits. So my response, I'll kind of elaborate a little bit on what I posted on Stack Overflow, is that first of all, we're not really giving specific hard numbers. We're not saying this particular type of YouTube Analytics call costs 10 quota units and this type costs 15 and you have 10,000 per day or something like that. We just kind of need to maintain a little bit of flexibility there in terms of adjusting quota costs in the future or adjusting the daily limits in the future. And once we document this specific quota cost for this specific type of call, we really lose that flexibility in changing things. So apologies right off the bat that we're not completely transparent about that. But that being said, we do have some general guidelines and some things that we kind of make clear from the documentation. Chris linked to the documentation, and I'll post a link to the specific part that I'm talking about into our Google Plus page after the show, so folks can go and refer back to it. But basically what we say in the docs is that the relative quota costs of Analytics API calls depends mainly on two things. First of all, it depends upon whether you're using a dimension of video, which tends to be a little bit more expensive, or if you're using a different report dimension, which tends to be a little bit cheaper. And this second, it depends upon the number of metrics that you're requesting. So you could kind of think of it as a little bit of a matrix where you have maybe a dimension of some sort of time period and only one metric, and that's probably going to be your cheapest call. But then if you start saying, I want a dimension of a video and I want 3 different metrics returned in that report, it's going to be, I don't want to say it's going to be 3 times more expensive or 5 times more expensive, but it's going to be more expensive. So that's kind of overall guidelines, and then it kind of gets into the question of what should you as developers do to code defensively and to deal with a little bit of uncertainty about what the actual quota limits are. How should you write code in that kind of reality? I think the most important thing to keep in mind, and this applies also to the data API, not just the analytics API, is that you really should not be afraid of quotas. Don't be afraid to make a lot of requests against the API and potentially bump into any quota limits. It's very tempting to try to scale things down on your end and to put in, I want to sleep for 1 minute in between every call I make. But I wouldn't really recommend that. I'd recommend make as many calls as you need to make against the API and wait until we start returning back quota errors. And at that point, you should adjust your traffic pattern. We're not punishing you when you do encounter a quota error. We don't disable access to the API or anything like that. We're just saying, hey, you're going to need to slow down the rate at which you are making calls. So, what we recommend in the docs is doing as much traffic as you need to make, and then when you do get a quota error, start an exponential back-off pattern, where you basically will wait for a certain period of time in between receiving a quota error and then making a next request. If you do happen to get another quota error back when you make your next request, then you wait twice as long as you previously did and then try again, and so on and so forth. It might be reasonable to start with waiting a minute after you get back your first quota error, and then retrying after a minute, and then retrying after 2 minutes and 4 minutes and so on, up to some limit. Probably if things don't work after pausing for 16 minutes, at that point maybe you should kind of give up, because maybe you've maybe pushed. I don't want to say push your luck too much, but actually I've been playing around with the analytics API a little bit and playing with seeing how the quota limits are returned from the API, and we actually do distinguish between short-term quota limits and like the daily limit that you've run into. So you will get a different error back from the API if you run into one of the short-term or more recoverable quota errors, and in that case you should do the exponential backoff. And then there is a separate error saying, hey, you've reached your maximum number of API calls that you can make per day. If you get that error back, then at that point you kind of do need to give up. But the bar for running into that daily limit is really rather high, and it might be adjusted even higher in the future if we need to. Yeah. So that's a general philosophy to have. Don't be afraid of quota errors. Make the requests you need to make. Obviously, don't make extra requests. Don't just throw traffic at the API servers for no reason. But if you do need to make these requests, go ahead and make them. So I'll post some links to our Google Plus page, plus YouTube Dev, and kind of share those things I've been talking about during the show, so people can refer back to them later.
Great. Yeah, people always ask that, and when I go to events, like, what do I do about the quota stuff? And like you said, we're not there to penalize you. Use as much as you need, and then do back off. But with the new APIs, like you pointed out, only request the information you need in parts, whether that's on the data API or just the metrics you need in the analytics API. Because if you don't need it, it's costing you, and you don't want it to cost you if you don't need it. So that's always important. Well, thanks for that. So we only have one question so far, and it's from me.
Do you want to answer your own question, Jeremy?
Yeah. Is Google Developer Relations hiring? Yes, we are. Check out go to developers.google.com/jobs. We have a bunch of open positions if you are interested as a developer, not necessarily here in the States, but anywhere. Let us know. Check out that page. We're always interested, and we have a shortage of people, so definitely check that out. But I wanted to thank you guys for coming on. It was a great demo. It's really interesting, and it's neat to see the new features. And as I said, we're always happy to have you guys on because we've worked with you for so long, and we had you on at Google I/O. So thanks again for coming.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. Thank you very much for having us today.
Great. Well, thanks everyone for attending. And
I think maybe a programming note in that we're going to be off for the next 2 weeks. We're not going to be doing our weekly Wednesday show due to various holidays, and I think our next show is January 9th, maybe?
It's later in January, I know. So that's probably right, January 9th.
Yeah. So sorry, everybody. I know you'll have to go back and watch some. Actually, you know what? Maybe we'll post on our Google Plus page some of our older episodes from the archive that folks might find interesting to watch during our hiatus.
Kind of a year-end outtakes.
Yeah.
Reruns of
the yeah.
Indeed.
Great. Well,
Indeed. So,
thanks again for coming, and Jeff, thanks for joining us from New York.
Absolutely.